Now, Jameis Winston, a guy that I've followed, I covered Florida State back in the day. He's a guy that has a lot of belief in his arm, maybe a little bit too much belief sometimes. Some of the turnover-worthy plays. Let's take a look at this and take us through these.
Yeah, there were three of them, and I'm not overly concerned with any of them, and there's reasoning behind that. But this first one here, that kind of the TV view mocked him and said that he threw it right to the DB. There's a reason, and we'll try to pause it at the right time. He did what he did, but this bootleg gets a little congested, and as he comes off of this bootleg, he has plenty of time, which is a credit to the scheme and what they did and tried to open up. The receivers will try to get better at the pacing of this. Cedric Tillman got caught up there, and it has Elijah and Cedric in the same spot at the same time. But what he tried to do, if you look at it and try to pause it right before he throws, you can see it really well on this view. He tries to, as these two Ravens defenders are sitting in the window, he tries to use his eyes to look to the middle of the field. You'll see his helmet go to the middle of the field. And then right once he sets up to throw, his hips are pointing that direction left. What he's trying to do, you see his eyes look middle at the last second. He tries to pull those players out of the center of the field. And what he tries to do is keep Elijah moving to the left. And if those defenders follow his eyes, which they do, he has Elijah a window to catch the football. It's tricky. It's really tricky. But you can, again, on this view coming up where it's right behind the quarterback and what the defenders are seeing, we'll try to pause it again at just the perfect time when he's looking away. You can see what he was trying to do in terms of setting his feet. So if we keep going a little bit further and then pause it like right as he's loading up, you'll see when his head is looking, see how his head's looking middle right there? He's trying to pull those two DBs, and the one's a DB, one's a linebacker, right in front of Elijah to the right toward the middle to throw back left. It's honestly a no-look throw. He's trying to create that void. The problem is Elijah also follows his eyes and goes to the right, as you see. They talk about it. Jameis explains to him what he was trying to do, and you can see him communicating there as they're walking back close to each other. But it's not as ill-advised as the TV view makes you think. And now it's a risky throw because you need to have really good nonverbal communication between receiver and quarterback. This is where like guys play together for a long time. They start to understand that nonverbal, that hey, here's what he's trying to do thing. But that's a play he's trying to make open up because of his eyes, and it's again risky. It looks bad, but I understand what he was doing, and I think they'll probably in a better chance of getting that right given the same situation. And then the other one that was really scrutinized was the Kyle Hamilton dropped interception, and you see after the play where Elijah, it's a cover zero blitz, which means there's 6-7 guys coming after the quarterback, and everyone's in man coverage on the receivers. And Elijah cuts the route shallow, which is the right thing to do, but Jameis you have to sort of blind throw some of those sometimes. You need your guy to be where you think he's going to be, and he's supposed to go upfield a little bit more. And then after that play, you think you see it like, oh, he just overthrew Elijah. Well, if you look at the communication between those two after the play, Elijah comes up to him, and because Jameis like initially thought that ball was going to be intercepted, so you'll see him like kind of take off after the player he thought was going to happen. Hamilton drops it. He kind of like looks at Elijah and is pointing more vertical, and Elijah taps his chest to say, that's my bad. So like, I think what happened there is Elijah read it as, hey, I need to get shallow. It's third and short. I need to get to this spot to be wide open based on leverage. Jameis didn't see it. He thinks he's still running the same route. And that nonverbal stuff, again, about reading it out after the snap and then being on the same page about where to go is stuff that you just get better at as you work together as a group, as a quarterback wide receiver duo, and they can figure out over time. But it's not as black and white as people want to make it when they're like, oh, that's just a terrible throw. He overthrows him. No, it's pretty clear the quarterback thought he was going to be in a different spot based on how the route was perceived to be run. And I'm not saying Elijah was wrong. I bet what they're doing is they're in the film room after that game talking through like, oh, I understand what you were seeing now. I threw it here because of this. It's just not as black and white as you want to think it is sometimes. There's some gray area in there. And I think, again, as these guys play more together, that's the first start between Jameis and those guys at wide receiver and then Njoku. Like, they'll just get better at some of those little nuanced things based on situation. They'll have a recall to, oh, remember the Ravens game where this happened or some game in the future. So there's reasons to be like, in my opinion, it is not, oh, just 3 terrible throws by Jameis. No, there were reasoning behind why he did what he did, and you understand that like these aren't all bad. It's just a matter of guys getting more reps together and getting more comfortable playing together.